All right, we're back, and welcome to another episode of The Grave, the podcast where I talk to friends, families, and even strangers about their paranormal experiences. With me today, I have a friend named Nick Damore. We grew up in the same hometown and went to high school together, took a Latin class together. That was fun.
That's right.
And just kind of throughout the years, kind of stayed in touch. You know, we're big music fans, so we have some commonalities there. And the biggest commonality is our love of the paranormal. So today, Nick's going to be telling us some of his stories and experiences and insights into anything spooky that's happened to him. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Nick.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
This is my first paranormal podcast experience. So this is going to be good. I've been thinking a little bit about kind of my experiences through the years and kind of why I've seen things or why I felt the need to kind of like search things out, which is kind of, I think, an integral part of anyone who's interested in the paranormal. You have to have a little bit of an open mind. I think if you go into it saying, you know, I don't think this is real, prove me wrong, you know, you might not be listening enough to really hear what you need to hear if you really are open to picking it up.
Right.
And also, I mean, only I think in the scenario if you're a dick, then maybe you'll find out like the ghosts will start messing with you because you're just a dick. But you know, I think you got to be a little open. So, a little background about me, like Josh said, grew up in Old Saybrook. Josh is a little bit younger than I, though we did take a Latin class together. I was a senior. I believe you were a freshman.
Yep.
Yep. I was on coast mode. And you know, I grew up with just my mom. After about the age of 10, my dad passed away. Had a good amount of, you know, experience of like death in the family in kind of like a short period. And it kind of, at a young age, opened me up to having to think about certain things that maybe I wouldn't normally have thought about. And one of the things was the idea of suicide and what happens to people who commit suicide.
Like whether they pass on to the afterlife or whether they kind of stay earthbound or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of times if you hear like paranormal stories, especially as I've gotten more into it, you know, people are like, you know, they're trapped here because they have unresolved whatever and they killed themselves, so they're trapped there. So my dad killed himself and when I was 10. And, you know, I thought that for a long time. I wondered, I was like, oh, you know, is he trapped back? Is he like trapped behind? And that was kind of like something that jumped me into that like belief or want for something more to show me that something more was going on.
Sure. Because
at first I was like, I don't want to believe that, or, but I think also growing up Catholic, you don't want to believe the alternative,
right?
Which is he's in hell,
right?
So it was just kind of like a hope thing too, I think, at that age as well. So that just kind of, I went into it with that openness of like wanting to see or experience something more.
Well, it's almost reassuring too. Like if you can find something like the proof of an afterlife, then it's like, well, you know, death is scary, but you know, maybe we transcend and move on to something better.
I think it is a little bit comforting in a way.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, I don't know, maybe it's the sum of your actions. Maybe it's because you have some kind of purpose that you haven't fulfilled, or again, maybe you're a dick and that's why you're still here. Or you did something horrible, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's more reassuring than just the lights go out. You know?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, no one wants to believe that like the end's the end. You know, you want to see your loved ones again.
I think that there is that divide of like, you know, it's almost like the other side of like, you know, religion, whereas like religion looks to like kind of this like structure of like moral goodness to answer that question, whereas we're almost looking towards like instinctual feelings and kind of like things that we experience ourselves, and like kind of a hope and like an order of things. Yeah. You know, where
an if-then situation.
Yeah, like if you did the right thing, then
right,
you're probably not going to be haunted in this attic, but
right,
like whatever other thing happens, you might be there. So it's kind of like a system of explaining it, I guess. And I don't know, I was looking for something like that. So I always wanted to like see something and experience something.
Yeah.
And from my childhood, I had like two things that really stick out. One of them was just unexplainable. I just don't know how to explain it. And it just kind of made me like, it was almost like a Matrix moment. It wasn't so much like a ghost moment. It was like, I don't know what the hell just happened moment.
Like a snap in reality type of situation.
So what happened was my mom told me to take 3 letters out of the mailbox. And it was at nighttime. And I'm walking down. I don't have a very long driveway, but I'm walking down. It's nighttime, whatever. I get to the mailbox. Well, as I'm walking up, I have these 3 letters. One is to a family friend of ours, and then they're like 2 bills or something. And so I walk to the mailbox, and I open it up, and I look inside, and there's a letter inside. And I'm like, okay. So I reach in, and I pick it up, and I look at the letter, and it's the letter that was to the family friend. And I looked at my hand, and I only had 2 letters in my hand. And it like fucked with me.
Yeah.
I like stopped for a moment, and I tell this story to people, and they're like, "You fucking ADD kid, you just forgot that you put a letter in."
Right.
But it's so clear in my mind, and in that moment, I just threw all the letters in and ran to my house, and I didn't know what the hell to make of it.
At least one was already in there.
So that was like my first like thing that I can remember where I was like, the world isn't making sense the way that people told me.
In a linear fashion.
Yeah. And then, I felt like my house was creepy and weird.
In Saybrook.
In Saybrook. It had, in the basement, there was this like wall that went up about 80%. And then on the top, you could look over and there was just dirt on the other side. And I just got like very strange vibes from that. And I think stuff started like kind of picking up a little bit after my dad died. And I was like home alone a lot. And I have a very vivid memory of being in the basement with my dog. And we were doing laundry. Laundry was down in the basement.
You know how dogs do laundry.
They always help.
Yeah.
And just as I was getting ready to like do something, like switch something over, I just hear footsteps go across the floor. And I was home alone. There was no one there. And my dog looked up too. And like
on the floor above you.
The floor above me.
Okay.
Yeah, like the kitchen was right above me, so it really sounded like someone was just walking across the kitchen floor.
Like with shoes on or bare feet or
shoes on, just right across the whole line, like probably like 10 footsteps or something like that, uninterrupted. And it scared the shit out of me. And I never liked being really alone in that house. I would spend a lot of time at like friends' houses and
Was there any do you know any history to the house? Like if someone died there or...
No. Okay. But you know what, man? People don't like to talk about that stuff when it happens.
That's true.
Like
keep it secret.
Just, I'm going to talk a little bit later about this apartment that I went to later in life, but we were filming there and the owner didn't want me to reveal to the current tenant who was upstairs, "Hey, don't tell this guy. Don't tell him that there was a suicide up here."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no.
So people hide
spooks
that shit.
people.
Yeah, it does. And that the other thing that I recall from growing up, and I don't know if it was just our area because we were out in the woods a little bit, a lot of coyotes and stuff, but I just remember having a lot of instances with like coyotes and like almost like large ones like wolves. And I had one where I saw a white wolf in our backyard, and it scared the shit out of me. And around that time, it was like winter, and I used to have cereal before I went to bed. It was like my routine. Sure. So Captain Crunch or whatever.
You gotta, yeah.
Before you go to bed. And I had this, I was sitting at my counter, and you look to my left, and there's like a screened in, like kind of glass room. We used to call it the Alaska room because it got super cold. Yeah. And I just noticed there were these eyes, like looking at me, like these like yellow, like eyes looking at me. And again, it could have been
outside, from outside,
right outside. And I like looked, and then I looked back at my bowl, and I looked back, and it was still there. And I felt like it was just like dialed in on me. And I ran to go get my mom, and came back, and she was like, "No, there's nothing there." But the next day I went and checked, and it was like snowing outside, and there were like these giant paw prints right outside. So again, who knows what the hell that was? And I feel like if you're somebody who buys into like there's two kind of divisions, I think, when you're talking about like paranormal spirits. You're talking about like spirits that used to be people, and you're talking about demonic evil shit that looks for opportunities and people who are suffering to latch onto.
Yeah. Trick you into, reaching out to a loved one or something like that, or thinking it's a friendly spirit. Next thing you know, you got some possession going on or something crazy.
I think also, I believe in those negative entities, and I think that they look for vulnerable people. And that time, my dad had died. My mom was not doing very well on her own, and we're pretty vulnerable. So I think like if there is like that evil shit floating around, they do tend to kind of float into that. But
not to sorry to interrupt, but not to delve back into like the religion thing, but like I think we can both agree that if you believe in a heaven, there has to be a hell.
Absolutely.
And Was there ever a moment after your dad passed where you kind of lost faith? And maybe that was kind of a catalyst for, some of the darker stuff that happened to you.
Yeah, I think definitely, because I think growing up Catholic, that's what was told to me. It was basically like your dad's in hell.
Right.
And so I was like, fuck this religion. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Sure.
I don't think I ever reached the stage of like full on like,
like there's
atheism.
Nothing.
Yeah, like we're just molecules bouncing off one another, and
right.
I never got there, but I kind of was like, we don't know enough to make a call. There's something going on, but we just aren't supposed to know, or we don't know. We'll get hints here and there.
Right.
And then I used to do stuff like my mom would sing in the choir, and I would do stuff like I would bring in like other religious texts and like read in the pew, like while my mom was like rehearsing, just to like fuck with people, like
blaspheming,
like Taoism and stuff like that, sitting in like the pew. Yeah, I think that does open the door a little bit. Is that like kind of anger towards you not fitting into like the standard box of religion, and then
right.
again, I think that does kind of open the door. But luckily, I never felt like I got like attachments. I never felt like there was like some evil spirit waking me up at the bottom of my bed. Thank God,
Right,
I feel like I used to do this thing with my students. I'm a teacher. I teach 6th grade, and it was my group right before the pandemic. They were just wild, and we would come in after lunch, and they'd all be all revved up. So I started doing this thing with them as a means of like trying to get them to kind of come together at the beginning of class. I was like, if we can make it to Friday, we'll start class with Ghost Story Friday.
Nice.
Because they really liked it for some reason. I started telling them something and they liked it. And this one girl in my class kept talking about how she would wake up and there'd be someone like sitting on her chest and like staring at her.
Like she'd see them.
She'd see them. Like this sleep paralysis. And like she kept having this story. Like she kept bringing it up. And it sounded so scary. I don't know if that's like I know that like sleep paralysis is like can happen.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
But
It's a
like
real
the
thing.
manifestation of like seeing something.
Well, that's an aspect of the paralysis. Like the brain isn't fully awake yet, or something like that. Don't quote me on this. I'm not like a scientist by any means, but
this is for a medical journal.
Yeah,
right?
but I do believe that like that's part of like the explanation of seeing stuff when you wake up and can't move is because like your brain is still kind of working in like dream mode. So when you see stuff like that, it's like, oh well, yeah, it's easy to write off because you were sleeping, you woke up, and your body's still trying to wake up fully. So you have those. But the thing is, like, what if you weren't dreaming about that stuff? You wake up from a dream where you're like walking through a field. Next thing you know, there's like an old woman leaning over you.
Yeah.
It's like, where'd that come from?
But like, why do people see like an evil thing sitting over? Why is it not like a rock or something? Like some inanimate.
But then again, maybe they do see this. Maybe there's like a tree in their bedroom.
You never know. Yeah. So her story freaked me out, and I was kind of like, girl, you might want to get that house blessed a little bit. I don't know. But and it's funny that I say that because I'm not like a hyper religious person, but like I guess maybe that's just my upbringing when like it comes down to it. It's like, go get it blessed.
Yeah. Hun, please.
Go get that holy water. Yeah. All right. But yeah, so that I kind of feel like I made it out of Connecticut, and I was like, all right, I'm interested in this stuff, but I still haven't really seen or experienced enough to be like, for sure,
fully commit you to it.
Yeah. But I wouldn't call myself a skeptic. I would say that I was like a hopeful person, like hoping to see something. Like I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so then I think then I went down to school at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and I ended up staying down there for about almost 12 years, including all the time from college. And like Wilmington is an old town, and it's got a pretty complicated history. Obviously in the South, dealing with a lot of like slavery, plantations, things like that. It's got a checkered history, and definitely, very segregated still down there.
Sure.
But there was a place down there where I really got like reintroduced to paranormal, and that would be the old Bullock Hospital, which was right downtown Wilmington. If you're familiar with Wilmington, it's right on Front Street, which is right where all the action happens.
It's like the main drag.
It's the main drag. It's got bars, it's got restaurants, it's got it used to have pretty cool like venues, at least when I was there, like for music and stuff. So it was basically where you would go when you would go downtown, and it's about a block from the river. Cape Fear River.
Okay.
And in the circles of paranormal, running, flowing water is also conducive to paranormal activity because it feeds that energy.
Right.
So this hospital was set probably less than, I would say maybe like 50 yards from the river. So this place was a hospital from like turn of the, early 1900s till about the end of the 40s. And it was, really old school looking. It had 3 floors and then it had a basement. And it was on like a hill down to the water. So as you go down the hill, there was a ramp that would take you down and you could cut in, and it was for the ambulance to pull in and like bring the bodies, and they would like have like the morgue down there and like intake and all that. So they changed it over to office buildings, and my wife started a business down there. She started a wedding planning, event design, floral business, and they rented out an office space on the second floor of the Bullock Hospital. And we had heard about this place because, they have Wilmington haunted tours, and this was like the last stop. And there was like this story about this police officer who kept seeing a boy with black hair, and he had to like kind of like he would park in that little alleyway where they would bring in the ambulance. He would kind of like sleep there, and he like kept seeing the little boy with black hair.
Was it inside the hospital or outside?
It was right outside, but he would see him either in his back seat or he would look up and
like
see
in the
him.
car.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
And the third floor was supposedly the children's wing, and it was so eerily quiet up there. It was like just thick and still. It had this really weird red rug running throughout. And then there was Kate's floor, which was also very sketchy. And their office was right next to the elevator, and they think that floor was more for like operating, because in the front part of Kate's office they had drains in the floor.
Oh, okay.
And it was great when you're running a floral company,
right?
You can just prep your flowers and everything there. But they knew that it was sketchy, and Kate, they would do events, so they'd have to show up at like 1 a.m. and like unload the basement.
Right.
And Kate was always like super
creepy
freaked
times.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started hearing about stuff, and Kate was my wife then. I think she was still my girlfriend. But she was into the like kind of like ghost hunting stuff, just seeing what we would find. And so we started poking around, with a digital recorder. And one of the times that we went down to the basement, we went down to the morgue, and we were, we were a little tipsy, and we were just kind of like,
as you should be when you're ghost hunting.
You gotta open it up a little bit.
Have some fun.
But we were recording stuff, and we felt okay. I felt a little strange at first. You get the tingles on the top of your head that run down the back of your neck, and you're not really sure why. We went down to the basement, and we started recording some stuff. We went back and listened, and we heard like, on one of them, we heard like this weird, like these beeps and like this snap, and it sounded almost like medical instruments, and it was quiet in there when we recorded it. Yeah. And another one, I went down, I started going back. Because we caught a couple things with Kate. And so like one time they had an office party, and, I was like, I'll go drop the bottles in the basement in the recycling. And I like brought the recorder down there with me. I'm like asking questions and shit. It just started like kind of sucking me in a lot more. Yeah. Because I started feeling like there was stuff there. Right. And we caught an EVP that said, I said, "Are you still here?" And it said, "No, I'm dead." And so for me, I was like, this place is like buzzing. Yeah. So, I decided to up the ante a little bit, and I asked my friend Bradford, good Southern name. Strong name. Very Southern name. I had like the best Southern friends' names. It was like Bradford, Brooks, Dexter. Those are all real people. But anyway, so Bradford, I was like, all right, dude, let's, what do you say? Let's just spend the night at the Bullock Hospital, see if we can make it one full night in the hospital. Just like, let's try it. And he was like, this is stupid, but sure, I'll do it. And so naturally we went and, had some drinks and ate some tacos. And then we decided to go into the hospital, and we had ghost fuel tacos. There you go. That's what it takes. Yeah. We had a couple recorders, like 2 digital recorders. And we brought some sage, which we didn't use, but we probably should have. And we had like walkie-talkies and stuff so that we could split up, but we didn't actually end up splitting up because Bradford got too scared to split up. That's fair. So we did like some experiments. Like we went up to the children's wing, and we took an X and tape and put it down, and we brought a ball.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And put a ball up on the X to see if we could like do anything, and it didn't move the ball. But we were taking pictures around it, and we thought we saw like a couple orbs like coming closer, and we're like, okay, that's cool, sure. We're walking around, we're feeling like tingly or whatever, and but nothing like a ghost being like, hello.
Yeah.
Like popping out from around the corner. Yes, I'm real. And
Nothing definitive like that.
Can you go home now? No, nothing like that. So we kept looking, and it got like late. It got you go into those things and you're like, this is a great idea. I've seen this on TV. This looks great. But you get in there and you're like, I'm fucking tired. Like I didn't prepare for this properly.
Right.
So I got kind of like
sluggish after those
I
tacos.
did. The tacos weighed me down. So I got kind of like, I did a little provoking where I was like, this is our place now. We're going to move in. We're not leaving. This is our house, blah, blah, blah. Like just tried to kind of like poke him a little bit, and I didn't get much. And then I was like, all right, dude, let's call it. So we had set a recorder up on the 3rd floor in the kids area. And then the way that the floors worked, there was a glass panel that separated the main hallway to the stairwell. Mm-hmm. And then that went one down, and then glass pane. And then you were on the 2nd floor with us. And so I put a recorder upstairs, and we went back and we were like getting ready to go, like, all right, let's just crash. Let's go to bed. And I was like, all right, man, I'm going to head down, and I'm just going to go take a piss, man. I'll be right back. But I decided to record and keep the recorder with me. And the recorder was going upstairs. So I walk out, and literally I'm like, all right, I'm just walking down the hallway, got to go take and as soon as I say that, I walk past the glass. And this is probably only about 15 minutes after I was like, again, being a dick to the ghost, because I was impatient and I had too many tacos and I wanted to see something.
Yeah.
And right as I'm walking by the door, it sounds like somebody just takes a full fist and just slams the door, like their hand on the glass right next to my ear, as I'm next to it. Scared the shit
like an angry hit.
An angry hit.
Yeah.
And I captured it on the recorder that I have here, and I captured it on the recorder that was up one story behind glass down a hallway. It heard that same hit.
Oh, wow.
And so I had it in 2 places. And of course, I'll show you the recording, you hear me run and go, Brad, let me in, Brad. I'm trying to get back in the room because you have that like fight or flight. But I don't know, man. We tested it. Because, sometimes you're like, okay, you gotta look into this and be like, can we debunk this in some way?
Sure.
Maybe the fact that the other door wasn't closed all the way and there was a draft or whatever, you like close one and it slams another or something like that. Maybe the door was propped a little bit and it hadn't closed all the way, and then as I walked by, it closed it. Yeah. We tried every little combination, tried doing all of the, opening the door while that was closed, opening the door while it was cracked. Trying the door upstairs, which first of all, why would anyone be opening the door upstairs? And nothing recreated it. And I mean, I think you described it well. It was an angry
slap
hit. Yeah. And at that point I was kind of like, I gotta stop doing this. I gotta stay away from this place. It's getting like weird where I was like,
became like all engrossing.
Yeah. I kept wanting to go back. I kept wanting to get like more stuff. And I was like, it was like it felt like it was like a weird, like kind of sucking me in. And we went to bed and we ended up leaving a recorder going in the room. And the whole night, it just sounds like there are whispers happening.
Like conversations?
Just conversations, like tons of little whispers. I mean, it's hard because there's like room noise. Bradford's like,
snoring,
whistling or whatever with his nose. Yeah. But yeah, it just sounds like there's people having a conversation behind a door, but like many. And again, I kind of was like, all right, I gotta stop at this place. This is pretty weird. But I got 2 more for you. I mentioned my dad passing away, and he was an author. And here's the portion of my shameless self-promotion. I'm finishing up a documentary about him and his life called For Nick from Dad. and we're actually in the pretty late post-production stage of it. We're working with a colorist and a sound person right now, and once that gets going, we're hoping to get it out in festivals and stuff. But essentially, it tells a story about my dad was an investigative journalist who, wrote a lot about the Kennedys. He was big in the Chappaquiddick case, and he had a book he was working on about JFK and his JFK's lover, Mary Pinchot Meyer, who was murdered. And some weird stuff happened towards the end of his life where there's a question as to like what really led to his demise. But he kind of took like a spiral, and it ended up, he and my mom split up. He was living in this apartment, like an upstairs apartment in a house. He ended up killing himself about a year after they had split, maybe a little bit more. And that was one of those things where with my project, there were a lot of things that were unresolved from that. But with my project, I was like, I want to go back to that property, because part of it was, I was like, what if he's still there? What if he's still there? And so, we filmed a lot of other stuff, but that was one of the things that we did as we got to that point in the film, is we got the permission from the former landlord, who was still the same landlord and remembered my dad. And we sat down with her and had an interview with her, which was pretty enlightening. But, she was like, yeah, go ahead, go upstairs. Her husband didn't want us to reveal that information to the current tenant, which again, I get it. But when I got up there and when we were filming, it was dark. It was, it wasn't like a bright space, but I didn't get that like gut intuition feeling like something's wrong. Something's like pulling at me. Something is asking.
Negative energy or something.
I didn't get anything like that. And I'm not claiming to be any kind of like medium, but I do believe in trusting your gut and your intuition of feelings, vibes when things feel right. And I was like, it feels empty in here. It doesn't feel like anyone's in here. And I was like surprised, but at the same time I was like, happy that, of course, like I didn't want him to have been there for 25
Lingering,
years. And then, I did more research with the state of Connecticut. I ended up having to file a Freedom of Information Act, and I got the police report, crime scene photos, autopsy, postmortem toxicology, the whole spectrum. And, it gets into our documentary, but it turns out that he didn't die there.
At the apartment.
That he actually got life-starred. And then he was later taken off of life support.
At the hospital.
Yes, but this was a story that was never relayed to anyone else in my family. My older half-brother, Charles, was the one who it fell on his shoulders. And I don't, again, with suicide, people don't like talking about it a lot.
Sure.
So I think maybe that was the rationale, is just to move on. But for me, I grew up my life thinking, oh shit, my dad killed himself at this spot. He's trapped here. Yeah. And then I got there and it didn't feel that way. And I was like, that's weird. That kind of goes against what I thought I would encounter. And then I came to find out that he actually didn't die in that exact spot. So
yeah. So that's actually very interesting. But it's also, to your point, very reassuring. Not very reassuring, because you still don't have ultimate closure.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, what is your end feeling on it? Or right now, how is your...
I mean, the way that I'm feeling about it now is that I don't buy into the bullshit that people who kill themselves go to hell. And that...
Like a scare tactic.
Yeah. And I feel like now I'm more at peace just knowing more information about what happened. And I feel more at peace knowing that there's not some trapped soul. That's, the soul of not just some trapped soul, my father's trapped soul.
Yeah.
And I do feel like, in that religious aside, I just refuse to believe that there's a God that would be that
vengeful,
dismissive. Like, oh, you wasted my opportunity of life. Well, you're going. Like, I don't see how that would be. Like, the only reason why you can't absolve that sin, like, you could do horrible, horrible things. This is turning into a religious podcast.
That's
Your
fine.
listeners.
Listen, this is the religious episode, guys.
But the only way you could, like, let's say
you have to reconcile this stuff with that, though. Like, religion plays a huge part in this stuff. So,
but let's say you kill someone, and then you, confess and are forgiven, and you've still done that, but you confess in the eyes of the Lord. I'm saying it's like a very religious side of it.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity because you're still alive.
Right.
If you commit that sin and you're already dead, there's no opportunity to like repent for it.
Right.
I don't feel like a God would be that vengeful to say, whoops, sorry, you ran out of time. Like, you can't do it. So I guess where I'm at with it now is kind of where I was. I don't fully understand it. I don't think that we're meant to, really.
Yeah. Or at least, you get some peek behind the veil, every now and then, but you don't until you have to, make that dive yourself. You probably won't know fully. Ever,
yeah. And there's people who've had like near-death experiences who are like, I died and was floating above my body and came back, and like, it's real.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I've watched hours of YouTube videos on that stuff. Not that everyone on YouTube's reliable, but these are like professors and academics and doing this these type of researches. So that stuff's very interesting to me.
It's just it's the one question that everybody has to answer at some point.
For sure. Yeah, and I think obviously it started off like we've been discussing, very religious and like this is what happens, and then kind of as like the new age thinking came about, there was the new atheist movement, and people having all these progressive ideas about what happens or doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think there is kind of a slow reversal, kind of going back to that more traditional mindset too. At least for me, I personally think that heaven, hell, do good in life, go to heaven. But the shitty part is, now I'm saying this, like I remember I watched I'm a huge Ted Bundy nerd. Not that I like support Ted Bundy, but
no,
like terrible person, absolutely awful.
Yes.
But there was a part in a documentary I watched recently where he in prison was like, I'm just God, a child of God now, and I'm just hoping to make it to heaven. And I was just like, to your point with the whole repentance thing, it's like, I don't know. If I were God, I'd be like, no, you don't get to come up here.
Yeah, is God allowed to be like, does God get a veto where he's like, it's too bad? Because I'm with you. I watched the whole what was the one with the actor
Zac Efron?
Zac Efron.
That was actually surprisingly good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I knew a little bit about the story, but like the end of it where he just like goes off the rails. He's like escaped from jail the second time, and he's like, I gotta just kill somebody before I get caught again. He just sneaks in and starts like, he's got a log. That's what he used. Like,
yeah. Oh, he's a monster.
Yeah, he's absolutely. Yeah. Does that guy get a second chance?
Right. And I read, so I don't know where I read it, or maybe I just thought this. I definitely saw it. It's Frank Turek who said this. He's like a Protestant. I don't think he's a pastor, but he does a lot of talks on YouTube. And he said this. It's like those type of people don't necessarily, and forgive me if I'm, paraphrasing or misunderstanding what he said, but to me, at least, it came off as, if you do something like that, you do the right repentance, and you actually like do in your heart like convert over to God. It's not that you don't go to heaven, but that it's that you're just further away from God than those who actually did good in life and like more like the proper way to live. So you think you're further? It's maybe you're not in heaven. You're kind of just like in a lesser heaven.
They're like outer heaven. It's like, there's like rings. You're in like the boonies of heaven.
It's like the inferno, but reverse. It's like
yeah. Why would it not be?
Yeah, it could be.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to be so black and white with it, and I think that's kind of, if I could sum up my whole feeling of it, I don't think it is so black and white. I think there's gray area. I think that you can't really explain everything, and when you try to talk to somebody who, like if I try to talk about experiences I've had, and people are like, oh no, like if I ask Mike Honeywell, whose family room we're in right now, he would be like, totally dismissive of it unless it happened to him.
So let me tell you this. I'm going to say this one story that he told me, and I want you to say your last story about the experiences in your new home.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap this up. But
I'd like to hear this, because I think of Mike as somebody who is very scientifically inclined.
I mean, to be fair, like I never even thought I'd have these conversations with him. For everyone who's listening, this is Nick's good friend, my brother-in-law. We're currently in my wife's childhood home. Her parents are downstairs. But yes, her brother Mike is a very biology major, biotech guy, like super science forward. So you never think you're going to have a type of conversation with him about this type of stuff. But two things. One, his family does a yearly trip in Block Island, and Block Island is notoriously haunted. And if you ask him about one of the houses they stayed at when they initially started their trips there, he will tell you that, I forget the name of the house. He would obviously know. Maybe I'll have him on. Discuss it.
Bring him on.
But he will tell you that house was haunted. Like, he says it won't bat an eyelash like that was haunted. Which again, I was surprised, but and it was stuff like like blinds would go up and down or something, or like doors would swing shut, stuff like that. I don't think they ever saw like a full apparition or anything. But he moved into a house with his wife and their little girl. Well, the little daughter was not. Was she there? No, I think this was just before Lauren, his wife, gave birth. But so Mike bought this oldish house that was lived in by an old woman. Her name was June. And what Mike didn't tell Lauren before they purchased the house was that June died in the house. And apparently she died in the living room sitting in a rocking chair. Whoa. So, and Lauren did not know this. Well, she caught whiffs of it afterwards, like, because Mike kind of like drop hints like someone died in here. And like Lauren would walk in and we'd be like, oh, nothing happened. But what he told me was, he said there was 2 instances, but the one that stuck with me, and again, maybe I'll have him on to tell it in more detail, but he was working on the house. He did a lot of the reconstruction on the house himself, and he was working late one night, and it was probably, I don't know, midnight, 1 in the morning, whatever. And he was like, I am exhausted. I need to go home. So he walked outside and shut the front door, and there's a big kind of bay window right next to the front steps. And he looked, the house is dark, and he looked in the window, and he said he saw a woman in like black with like a stark white face staring back at him from inside. And again, this is coming from Mike Hunnewell. I was like, no way,
dude. I just got that's chilling.
Yeah, and he literally said like, Josh, I like froze, but then just turned to my car and like left and like didn't look back. Just like got in my car and drove, because they had an apartment that they were in the process of selling. They still lived there at the time while they were renovating the house. And he just said he walked away and was just like, that was fucked up. But he also then caveated by being like, I was tired. It was nighttime. Maybe. But
there was a reflection of this billboard across the street.
But the way he said it, he was just saying it in jest. Like, he didn't mean that it didn't. Like, to me, the way he told it, he was like, that shit fucking happened. And I don't know how to explain it any other way, but that was real. So, yeah, that's Mike's story to tell. Maybe, like I said, we'll have him on.
That's the height of paranormal stuff, is seeing
like that's
something.
What you want.
Seeing, I've never, exactly like what we were saying at the hospital, I wanted to like see like a boy like go, hello. I didn't see any of that shit, but then again, you get into Mike's situation and you're getting all excited about moving your new family into your new home, and you turn around and there's a freaking scary lady in black with
it's always the people
face.
That are least deserving, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, speaking of new houses,
so let's get right into that's the last your final tale
for you. So I think that there's something to that with a new house, because or moving into a house that was lived in somebody else. Like if you have like new construction, the only way that you're going to run into problems is if it's like a poltergeist situation and they just like build on top of horrible land that they're not supposed to.
Right.
But like, Mike's house, it was lived in by someone who obviously loved the home and died there.
Right.
And
yeah,
I moved into a home in Guilford. We bought last September. Actually, it was a year on the 4th. And it was built in 1945, and it had like 2 families, like I think the whole time. Here's another instance. We didn't hear of anyone dying, but like stuff started happening. Like Kate would smell cigars randomly.
Yeah.
And we kept finding that the doors kept either locking or unlocking. Like we would lock it and we would find it unlocked. And one of the weirder ones that we had was, we have a screened-in porch, and there's a door off the back. We have a little sticker that we put on the door for when we let the cat out, because you might forget the cat outside, and if it's if it's cold, so we have a little sticker that we put on the door that says "Kitty's outside." And so Kate had let Sebastian, our cat, out, and the sticker was on the door, and we see him walk by in the living room, and Kate was like, "Did you let him back in?" I was like, "No." And so we go look back, and the door's still locked with the sticker still on, and the cat's outside.
Shit.
So like stuff like that, where like
presumably the door open, let the cat in, and shut itself.
Who the hell knows? I have no idea. That's what we think happened, and it's one of those. It's not even like it's a latch that goes over.
I have to ask: is there another way for the cat to get in?
No, okay. That's it. And so that was the extent of the first stuff, and then I had an incident where it scared the shit out of me. And it was the first time that, after quarantine, Kate went out on her own. She went to a friend's house in Brantford, and they were having like a bonfire. So it was cool to, be outside. I was like, yeah, go be with your friend. I'll watch Jackson. It's all good. So we have the monitor. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like, stop commenting on, orbs in the monitor. It's dust, all right? It's fucking dust, all right? And yeah, I agree. Most of the time it is dust. But I started just kind of like hearing Jackson upstairs, and I was like, oh, what's he doing? So I look at the monitor, and he's like talking to someone. It looks like he's looking at the corner where we have the chair. And he's like talking, and I'm like, all right, what is this? So I just start recording on my phone just for fun. And he starts saying like, and I was like, this is creepy. And all of a sudden, his head turns, like kind of like he's looking at something, like something gets his attention. And then he like starts like, he falls back and starts like almost like chanting something. It was like, and I'm like, okay, like this kid is, he's like 2, so he could just be babbling on. But I noticed right before I cut it that I saw like a little light blip. It was like, and it made like a disturbance on the screen, and it like disappeared into his crib. So I rewatched the video, and my blood ran cold because right when Jackson turned his head, there's a voice that says, and it's clearly a female voice, and it says, "Good night, my love." And I'm like, I heard that, and I was by myself.
Yeah.
I felt bad because I started blowing up Kate's phone. I know,
You need to get home now.
Yeah. She had not been out the entire quarantine, and I'm just like, come home, I'm scared. But I heard that, and I was like, you always think of like spirits as like they could be evil, but sometimes they're just people who maybe are confused. Like, yeah. I was thinking in my head, is this someone who like thinks that Jackson is their baby? Like, thinks it's their son? Because it's a very nice sentiment, but coming from a spirit, I don't exactly like it because, what if they get a little
problematic? Yeah.
You can see him, and he's not talking, and there is clearly a voice, and it sounds like a lady. So what I did was I went upstairs and I turned all the lights on because, again, I'm like fucking scared. Yeah. And I, at the risk of waking him up, I knew he was already up, but I went in there and I was just like, you can't be here. You have to leave. I don't know who, like, I did like the whole, like, this is not your house. This is not your child. You have to leave. Yeah. And I didn't really have any problems after that. I had a couple times where, like, I'd look into the monitor and I'd see, like, something that I thought, like, looked weird, like maybe like orb behave weirdly or whatever. But I'm like, this is just fucking dust. Yeah. And then Jackson broke the monitor. So I've just been
just hoping for the best.
Just hoping he's up there.
Well, I mean, if there's maybe a silver lining here, maybe when you went up and said that, maybe if there was, a female spirit in the house, maybe she was like, all right, we'll take it easy. But maybe she's like still lingering around, just kind of like, it's nice having this child for company.
And you know what? Kate took that perspective of like, maybe she's just like looking out. Yeah. Maybe she's just like caring.
Sounds like it.
And that would.
So she gets possessive.
Nice. Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, like, think about it, like, what if she would like prevent him from like falling down the stairs or something? But then, yeah, you're right. She gets possessive and she's like, I want you in this house forever. She just launches him down the stairs. Shit. Now I gotta go bless the house. Yeah.
Pull out that sage you didn't use earlier.
Oh man! But
all right, that's some good stuff, man.
That is pretty much the extent, man. I'm gonna keep searching, keep looking. I always try to follow my gut. If I feel like something feels weird, I try to just like look into it. But I think that's the end of the rainbow, right there. Is like the visual proof. Yeah, seeing someone walk into a wall, seeing like half a body, seeing someone in the mirror, and you turn around and they're not there. Right. Yeah. Let's get out there, man. Let's find. We were talking Dudleytown. Let's go get arrested for trespassing.
Yeah.
Go to Dudleytown.
I'm looking to kind of do some exploration myself and kind of see what we can see. So if God willing, we can figure out a time and a place to investigate, and we'll have Nick back on to we'll discuss more creepy stuff.
And hopefully Travel Edition.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was Nick's time on the grave. I hope you enjoyed his stories. I hope you found them interesting, creepy, even funny. He has a lot of good insights into this type of stuff, so I really appreciate him coming on and sharing his experiences with us. As far as his documentary goes, For Nick from Dad, he filmed that over a period of 4 years with his childhood best friend and filmmaker, Matt Cascella. They have begun submitting to film festivals and are planning a Connecticut premiere this winter. So stay tuned for that, and we should have an update for you as to when that will be. As usual, I'm your host, Josh King, and I hope to have you all back for some more scary stories.